Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Guruji Maharaj ki Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Shri Radha ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare. So, the first day we were talking about the sweetness of Sri Krishna in all his activities. And we talked about Anartini Vritti and Artha Pravritti, which means eradicating obstacles that are impediments in our development in bhakti, and Artha Pravritti, which means positive spiritual growth. How both sides are important, and how we see that in Mahaprabhu's Shikshastakam prayers, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talks about that in Madhurya Kadambini. Our Samsara Dhavanala Gurvastakam song also talks about it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about this in Bhajan Rahasya. That's very important. And then I gave this Srimad Bhagavatam verse reference. Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Deham Ashritam. That Krishna appears in this world is Advent. When we were meeting with His Holiness Parshana Swami, gave this beautiful book, his Advent, about Sachinandan Gaur Hari for the kids. And he was talking about how he had arranged this Komar Kishore Kirtan, how nice it is to see parents taking care so nicely of the children and bringing them up in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna advents, but who else advents? Shri Guru. Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Deham Ashritam. Krishna says out of his compassion, Anugraha, he appears and performs his pastimes to attract the lost souls to his abode. But he also sends Shri Guru. That's why we say in Hindi, it says Krishna Kripa Murti, referring to Srila Prabhupada in all the books. Krishna Kripa Murti. That means the murti, or the form embodying Krishna's mercy. So we understand that the eternal liberated soul, pure devotee, comes from Krishna's abode to help us here. That's why I wanted to tell the story of Gopa Kumar. Because the story of Gopa Kumar is told by our Srila Gurudev, written by Sanatana Goswami. It's actually like an epilogue to Srimad Bhagavatam, when Mother Uttara, the mother of Parikshit Maharaj, after the 7 days of classes, she asks, what was the essence? What was the sum and substance? And then Parikshit Maharaj tells these stories. Tells about Narad Muni's spiritual journey, and he talks about Gopa Kumar's spiritual journey. And so, that's why we were also talking about yesterday, for those who were there, how there's a foundation made, but the foundation is made to construct something upon it. When we clear land to build something, we clear it with a purpose in mind. So we clear a land, and then we build a foundation, and then we start to construct a building. So we can think of this as, what is the purpose of the Vaishnava community and the society, the organization? What is the purpose of that foundation, that platform? And the purpose is our spiritual journey, to support and to nourish, to encourage, and to help the jivas, the souls, develop in their journey to God. That is the purpose. So it's very nice, actually. I was thinking during the kirtan, because this relates to Gopa Kumar. So there's a lot of topics, so we can, if you have any question at any point, you can interrupt and we can go over it more. Gopa Kumar has many interesting, relevant details for us. One of the important details is the importance of holy places and sages and sadhus. A lot of his story talks about how he went to this temple, he went to this holy place, went to this place and worshipped the Lord in his deity form. And so this is also a holy place of pilgrimage that's been established to help facilitate that soul's journey to God. Every individual who comes. That's why it's so amazing they get the opportunity to hear the holy names, to get the books, to see the deities. And in this way, they're supported in their journey to Krishna. So Krishna comes to this world not once. His advent is many times. He advents every Ekadashi. Every Ekadashi is Madhava Tithi. That's Krishna's appearance. Janmashtami is one appearance of Krishna, but every Ekadashi is called Madhava Tithi, Krishna's day. So Krishna comes again every 2 weeks. And Krishna comes again as the pure devotees. And so this is a very important thing to remember. Someone who is like a Sampradaya Acharya, a head of a Sampradaya or an important personality in a Sampradaya, generally speaking, we see they're like a descended, almost like their advent is very important. So we are understanding that for Srila Prabhupada or Srila Gurudev, very powerful personalities who have come to help the jivas on their journey home to Krishna. So the story of Gopa Kumar is very interesting because it shows his whole journey through time and space in many different realms, ultimately until he gets to Goloka Vrindavan. It shows the whole journey and it shows his experiences. And why it's also especially interesting is because how it starts is he's telling his own story, actually very shyly. He says it's not so good to speak about one's own story, glories. But it's going to be very helpful for you, so I'm telling you. Anyone heard the story of Gopa Kumar? Basics? Okay, so we'll go through it in brief, but touch on some different salient points. We hear that actually Gopa Kumar, he's telling this story after he was in the spiritual world. Otherwise, how could he tell the story? Because in the story, he talks about how he lived on earth, but also in Indraloka, Tapoloka, Maharloka, Satyaloka, Dwarka, Ayodhya, Vrindavan. Afterwards, he's telling the story. It's an amazing thing that's why we're lucky, we hear the histories of the Vaishnavas. Even though they're shy and don't want to speak about themselves, those histories of the Vaishnavas are very helpful for the jiva. So then we can know, Mahajana Gatapanta, follow the Mahajans, follow the great souls. So actually Gopa Kumar went to the spiritual world, and then it's described by Krishna's and especially Srimati Radhika's arrangement. She said, you should go back to earth and help the jivas come to me. So that's why we say Karunaya Vatirna Kalau, like the advent, Mahaprabhu, Krishna, and the pure devotee comes to this world. For being situated in that world by Krishna's instruction, on time to time they come. And so it's said that there was, now telling the story, there was a Brahmin. And this Brahmin, he was interested in wealth, artha. And he was worshipping with faith Kamaksha Devi in South India for wealth. But because he was worshipping with faith and he had some genuine understanding that there is a goal of life and we should endeavor to attain it, and he was sincere and he had some good sukriti, pious merits. And it's described that Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world, they said, "Oh Gopa Kumar, he is a coward boy of Krishna. You should go and help this Brahmin come to me." It's very interesting. So therefore we understand that Krishna himself arranges for the jivas of this world to come to him. This is called The Loving Search for the Lost Servant. Srila Bhakti-Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj writes a book like that. Loving Search for the Lost Servant. Krishna himself is thinking of us. And so in relation to the Gopa Kumar story, I want to touch on a few important points. One is that within the nature of the Atma, this Jiva, soul, there is this waiting for an awakening of relationship with Krishna. It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanari Sudha Chitta Koryudhai. Love for God is eternal. So how are we going to awaken it? It is awakened by hearing and chanting, following the process of devotional service. So Gopa Kumar, he was in his own journey searching after something. Why was he yearning for something? Because he had that within him waiting to come out. So he was looking for it, he was searching. It's described to be like iron filings. They're attracted to a magnet. So if you keep them separate, they're yearning for something, looking for something. And wherever Gopa Kumar went, he wasn't satisfied until he reached that eternal home, his eternal place, where his relationship with Krishna was in that position as a cowherd boy. Then he became satisfied. So this is one important thing on its own, to see that we were talking about this idea today. From our perspective, we're fallen in material life. From our perspective. But from Krishna's perspective, we are meant to be there. And we have relationship with him there. God is all-knowing, omniscient. So he knows each and every one of us what is our highest potential. And he wants us to reach that potential. Maharaj was saying, when we were meeting with Maharaj, Krishna loves us so much. He loves us as we are. But he also loves us so much, he doesn't want us to stay as we are. Go to your highest potential. He loves us so much, okay, as you are. But I love you so much that why will I let you suffer in this world? So he sends Guru. We say, Brahmanda Brahmite Kon Bhagavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Vai Bhakti Lata Beach. By Guru and Krishna's mercy. Krishna sends Guru. Therefore, we say, Vina, without Guru, we cannot find Krishna. And without Krishna, we cannot find Guru. They work together. They're in a partnership. So, a Brahmin was doing worship to Kamaksha Devi. And in a dream, she gave him a mantra. She gave him Diksha. It's very interesting. Because people are very confused about what is Diksha, how to get Diksha. The Murti herself, she gave the mantra in a dream. And he woke up and he thought, it must have just been a dream. So she came again in a dream and said, I'm telling you this mantra, chant it. So, Kamaksha Devi, she gave the mantra to him. He was worshipping. She's a manifestation of Durga. But it's actually described that this dream, it came from that Kamaksha Devi, but actually she is like an expansion of Yogamaya, who is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. So the Vaishnavas say that actually this was Radharani's arrangement. Give him the mantra. And then she also made the arrangement. Send Gopa Kumar. This is how it's described. Why? Because mantra alone is important, but also it's important for shiksha. That's why in the first verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, what is described? Bande Gurun Ishan Bhaktam Isham Ishavatarakam Tat Prakasham Chatak Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Sanyakam. First verse, Adi Lila. I offer pranam to Gurun. And in the translation by Srila Prabhupada it says to the initiating spiritual master and the instructing spiritual master. Sometimes they are one, oftentimes there are two. Just like parents have children and then they send them to school. Sometimes parents are the teacher in the school, sometimes they send them to school. So we often see this in Diksha initiation, that Diksha will advise or take some guidance, further guidance, course of study. Therefore, Rupa Goswami, in the beginning, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, says, Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam. One time in India, I lived there for 16 years, and the disciple of Srila Prabhupada was hearing from Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj. He was asking, who is Guru? How do we understand relationship between Diksha and Shiksha Guru, the instructing and the initiating master? He said, Guru is one. Very emphatically, he said it 3 times. Guru is one. There is no difference. Why? How can we understand Guru is one? Because what is Guru's purpose? What are they doing? Shakshad Haritvena Samasta Shastre. Shakshad Haritvena. They are Shakshad Hari. Why? Because they are like the king sent a messenger. Bring this person to me. The messenger is as good as the king. Shakshari. Because Kintu Prabhurya Eva Priyatasya. Because they are doing that thing which pleases the Lord. So therefore they are empowered with the Lord's potency. Without the Lord's potency you cannot preach. So therefore Guru is one. This is the first verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Diksha and Shiksha Guru. And in the first stages, Rupa Goswami gives 64 limbs of bhakti. What are the first 2? It says, take shelter of Guru, Guru Parashray. Then it says, Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam. Take Diksha, Vishnu Mantra, and worship the Lord, and take instruction, Shiksha. Separately it's described. Because often the case is, in your spiritual journey, you need both. And we're going to see that in the story of Gopa Kumar. Sometimes you need both. Because life is long and there's no guarantee. Gopa Kumar, in his own story, Radharani sent him, said, go and help this Brahmin. I gave the mantra through Kamaksha Devi as my partial secondary expansion. But I'm not able to give Shiksha now, so go and give Shiksha. And Gopa Kumar, he came and he met that Brahmin. The Brahmin took shelter of Gopa Kumar. He said, please instruct me. And Gopa Kumar said, I'm going to tell you my own story. By hearing this story of my spiritual journey, then you can gain some insight how to go about your own spiritual journey. Because that spiritual journey for us, that's the most important thing. Because ultimately, life in this world is temporary. We are not this body, and this body is like a vehicle that we have on lease, alone. It's not even our vehicle. Sometimes you buy a car, sometimes you lease it. So this body is a leased vehicle. How long are we going to have it? So I want to touch on, I'm not going to go through the whole linear story because it's long, but I want to touch on different points. One is that point of Diksha and Shiksha and how our line incorporates both. And how both is one because the purpose is one. That's why Guru is one. Because the purpose of the Diksha Guru and the purpose of the Shiksha Guru is to take you to Krishna. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan. At the time of Diksha initiation, the Guru offers you to Krishna, not to himself. Doesn't take you for his own property. He offers you to Krishna. And Krishna accepts that soul and makes them like himself of spiritual quality, so that they can relate with him and serve his lotus feet. Have a relationship developed. Deva Deva Marchayat. So Diksha is an important stage of spiritual growth because Shastra says, Grihita Vishnu Diksha ko Vishnu Puja Paronaro Vaishnavo Bihito Bigyir Itaro Smada Vaishnava. When we take the Diksha mantra, we become qualified as a Vaishnava. Why? Then we can do Vishnu Puja, Thakurji Seva, and Bhakti Bhajan very nicely. And Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Diksha Guru Krishna's Roop. Diksha Guru is like Krishna's form. And Shiksha Guru is like Krishna's Swarup. Antaryami Bhakta Shrestha Edvi Roop. So this is given there. It's very important to gradually come to this understanding. In all our temples, whatever mat we're from or organization, every ISKCON temple, all the different mat temples, here we also have Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Gorkhadas Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Jagannathas Babaji Maharaj, and the 6 Goswamis. So my question is, how many are Shiksha Gurus, how many are Diksha Gurus in this parampara? Srila Gorkhadas Babaji Maharaj, his connection to Bhaktivinoda Thakur is by Shiksha. He did not take Diksha from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But Anand Parampara, the Shiksha Guru is present. Bhaktivinoda Thakur never took Diksha from Jagannathas Babaji Maharaj. His Diksha Guru is Vipin Bihari Goswami. But yet on the Parampara, his Shiksha Guru is present. Why? Because this is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's, one of his insights, clarifying what is the understanding of the Bhagavat Parampara. He says, the Mahabhagavat Acharya, he is in that unbroken succession, honor that highest principle. So therefore we should understand that Diksha and Shiksha are one, and they are both important. And of the 6 Goswamis, Jiva Goswami never initiated, but he is the Guru of the whole world. He was Vaishnav Sarvabhauma, Vishwa Vaishnav Raj Sabha. He created the world Vaishnav society, the first one. But he never initiated. He sent Narottam Das Thakur go to Lokanath Goswami, Srinivasa Acharya Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He did not directly initiate, yet he is on the altar as a Shiksha Guru. Rupa Goswami is on the altar as a Shiksha Guru. Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Shiksha and Diksha. Sanatana Goswami, Shiksha Guru. And our relation to Mahaprabhu, anyone here is a direct descendant of a direct initiated disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? No. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never initiated anyone. And yet, he is Sampradaya, not only Acharya, he is Krishna himself, as Radharani. So therefore, for our developing understanding of the bhakti process, we need to understand if it's the first verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and if it's the initial stages of bhakti as described by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, then Krishna Diksha and Shiksha are both important. Diksha Guru can fulfill the role of Shiksha. Sometimes they do, sometimes they encourage us to continue. But Guru is one, because Guru is coming here not to make us affiliated to just an organization. They're here to affiliate us to that organization to take us back home to Godhead. If the purpose is served, then the foundation is fulfilling its purpose. And so the purpose is that the Gurus have come to take us to Krishna. That's the story of Gopa Kumar. Because Gopa Kumar was sent to bring that Brahmin to the spiritual world. And he did. And so therefore he told his story. Gopa Kumar said that when I was a boy, it's a very interesting story. You see how things kind of go in circles up to Godhead. When I was a boy, I myself would go and take darshan of a Brahmin. This Brahmin was always absorbed in bhakti. Sometimes he was in consciousness, sometimes he was in ecstasy. And I was a cowherd boy in Govardhan, like an ordinary, not at that time Krishna's cowherd boy. But the seed was there. His yearning was there and it was waiting, is budding and developing. So he said, I serve this Brahmin. And one time the Brahmin, he came out of his divine consciousness, samadhi, and he was very happy. Because he was blissful in a state of bhav. And seeing my innocence and my desire to serve him, he gave me mantra. So Gopa Kumar received Diksha mantra from the Brahmin. But because the Brahmin was a Uttam Bhagavat, like in the state of bhav, immediately afterwards he became again maddened in bhakti. And then he fell unconscious and then he woke up. And as if it hadn't happened, he just wandered away. And so that's why Shiksha is important. I got the mantra. Gopa Kumar thought, he said, here's this mantra. How do I chant? How much do I chant? When do I chant? What's the process of worship? I didn't know. So I need a teacher. Gopa Kumar is telling his own story. I was thinking, where should I go? What should I do? It's very interesting. So he said that, therefore, because this Brahmin left without giving me sufficient instruction, I I became eager and agitated. We hear this in the stories of different acharyas. Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj also, his guru's guru. He was similar. He didn't have, he had mantra initiation, but then he couldn't find his guru again. Gopa Kumar said, I never met him again. I got mantra and I never met him again. So I was thinking, like, what am I supposed to do now? Is my life over? Should I give up or should I continue? So he said, I started to wander and travel. And he traveled to the bank of the Ganga. Very interesting story. He said, at the bank of the Ganga, I was thinking, where is God? Where is God? I want to see him. Why? When we take that mantra, what is the mantra? The mantra is installing Bhagavan in the heart and the need, the urgency to worship and love him and serve him. Where is he? Where is he? When Mahaprabhu took initiation in Gaur-Purnima, I was giving a class. Look at the life of Mahaprabhu before and after initiation. He showed from his own Leela. He was a scholar, he was a naughty boy. When he went to Gaya and took initiation, Diksha from Ishvara Puripal, he came back Bhavuk Nimai as a devotee and engaged in the Sankirtan movement. And then he was always saying, Kaha jao, kaha pao, Brajendra Nandan. Where can I go to find Brajendra Nandan Krishna? It's Mahaprabhu's own life. The power of that mantra. So Gopa Kumar is looking, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Why? He received Krishna mantra. 10-syllable Krishna mantra. Nowadays we have many mantras we receive. Because it's said in Kali Yuga where we're fallen, we need more, like, you need a bigger prescription of medicine every day chanted and take that medicine. But in that time, 10 syllables was enough. Only Krishna's name and some beginning and end. It's called like, at the beginning and the end, you have a container, like a capsule. We actually were doing a book on the Gayatri mantras with Jiva Goswami, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. So we say, what's the difference between the Gayatri mantra and Mahamantra? Mahamantra is Krishna's name, it's pure, it's the transcendental thing. Why do you need Gayatri? I said, you don't. But it's helpful for the conditioned soul because it's like medicine in a capsule. And they say, so Om and Swaha or Kling, Namaha, these are like the capsule, the caps. And by chanting these mantras, it's helping purify the ego, the false ego, cleansing the narcissist. And then the essence, what is in the capsule? Krishna's names. Any Gayatri mantra. Gaur's name, Krishna's names, Radharani, Gopal. It's all Krishna's names. So he was chanting this mantra and he was eager to find the Lord. So where did he go? He went to the Ganga and very soon after he found a Brahmin. And the Brahmin, he was saying, have you seen God? I said, yes. And he had a beautiful little bag and a box on his neck. Sometimes we see this with devotees. What was there? Shalagram. Yes, here's my Lord. And he opened, oh, Jai, Lord of the universe. He offered Sastang Pranam. He was so happy to see the Lord in that form. He began to offer stutis and prayers. And then after some time, the Brahmin said, I must go. And he put the Lord in a box back. And Gopa Kumar began to cry. He was so simple in his devotion and sweet love. How can he put the Lord back in the box? Has he eaten? Not offering. He said, I'm a poor Brahmin. I cannot afford to serve the Lord nicely. But don't worry. Go to Jagannath Puri. Actually, first he didn't send him to Jagannath Puri. He said nearby, because they weren't that close. Nearby there's a kingdom where they worship the Lord very nicely. Vishnu, four-armed form. He said, go there. Every day they have great festival. The Lord eats very nicely. That's why I'm poor. I cannot feed him here. But I'm always keeping him with me in one form. But go there. So this is we're talking about this because it's the journey of Gopa Kumar. And in the journey of Gopa Kumar, he went to many places, many temples, many sages, where there was a favorable environment for developing his Krishna consciousness. So the purpose was served. He went to this kingdom and he saw beautiful, elaborate worship of Lord Vishnu. And so he stayed there very happily. But one important thing about his story, I don't know how far we'll get in the story, but one important thing is, he was always seeking more until his true innermost potential was realized. This is one of the important parts about Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. Why is it that Gopa Kumar wasn't satisfied? He saw the form of the Lord Vishnu, but yet he wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. When in Braja Leela, One time the gopis were searching for Krishna and they saw Vishnu. Krishna came and he was tricking and playing with them. So he said, let's see if they can recognize me as Vishnu. And so Krishna stood there in the temple and forearms. And the gopis came by and said, oh, pranam. Oh, Lord Vishnu, dandavats. Please accept our pranam. We offer prayers unto you. Have you seen Krishna? It's very interesting. You can see they were saying, because their mood and their relationship is with Krishna in the highest sense, then there still was a yearning for that. So they said, oh, Vishnu, dandavat pranam, offer arti. Please, if you're pleased with our worship, where's Krishna? Krishna is smiling, not revealing. When Srimati Radharani came, before the gopis were there, but when he didn't reveal himself. When Radharani came, he couldn't hide himself. His two arms disappeared, and again he was Krishna. Could not tolerate. So Gopa Kumar, why I'm mentioning this story? There's some thing within us. Krishna knows. We may say, because there's two perspectives. From our condition, oh, I'm so fallen, I'm so conditioned. Anadi Bahirmukh. Who am I? What am I? I'm so insignificant. But from Krishna's perspective, the loving search for the lost servant, from Krishna's perspective, he knows who we are. Because we are coming from him. What does it say in the Bhagavad Gita? Mamai Vangso. You are my part. Vivinangsa Tattva. You are not anyone else's. You are mine. So Krishna knows who we are. And he's trying to bring us to him. So Gopa Kumar, he stayed in that kingdom. And it's very interesting in Gopa Kumar's life, one very interesting thing is, we keep seeing a repeating theme. Because he's very sincere, he's given responsibility. Everywhere he goes, he gets management position. Sanatana Goswami mentions this, and everywhere he goes, very interesting. He's in this kingdom for a little while. The king's very old. He adopts him like a son because he's such a sweet sadhaka and sevak. And the king's a Vaishnav. And his other sons aren't so qualified. So he adopts him like a son, and the king's old and he passes away. And he says, I want him to be the king. Adopt his son. So that's why bhakti is curving like the Ganga, like the Jamuna. It's not always flowing straight. The adopted son became the king because he was Vaishnav. And so he became the king of that place, and he was worshipping Vishnu. He said, whenever Gopa Kumar was given responsibility, he expertly took care of it. And we're going to hear about it. He became Indra's position. He became Brahma's position. And wherever he went, he only encouraged Krishna consciousness. So that's the feature of expert management. To encourage and increase Krishna consciousness. So Gopa Kumar became king, and he made more elaborate, beautiful festivals. He served all the Vaishnavas continuously. But after some time, an interesting thing happened. He thought, I'm so busy in management, I have no time for Krishna consciousness. So he thought, let me leave. He was thinking, when will I be able to give it up? This is also a recurring theme. He thought, I'm doing all these festivals, I'm arranging, but what is my time to chant the mantra? And his guru, Jayanta actually. Jayanta was the name of his guru. 5 times in the story of Gopa Kumar, his guru came back. In a mystic way. And whenever the guru came back to instruct him, it was always to set him straight again on the course of his spiritual journey, back to Godhead. He said, one time our Gurudev asked someone and he said, how is your bhajan? My bhajan I have to maintain. This is different. I'm not speaking about, anyone here or anyone we know but a different organization, different group. How is your bhajan? He said, I am managing 200 centers. I said, but how is your bhajan? How's your japa? How's your chanting? I'm too busy. So he said, you should pray in your next life, you can do bhajan. Because responsibility is important. If you're qualified for responsibility, it's important. Wherever Gopa Kumar went, he was given responsibility. But then if it became overwhelming, he thought, how can I give up this heavy burden and follow my Krishna consciousness? So as that king, he thought, I'm always just arranging, but I have no time. That's the problem sometimes, is that management is all about the art of delegation. So, but we don't want to delegate away Krishna consciousness. We need to be able to practice ourselves very nicely. That's why the temple is very nice, because every morning we come together, we do Mangalarati, we do Tulsi Parikrama, we do Nrsingadev, Kirtan, and we sit. And Srila Prabhupada himself taught, the most expert delegator and manager, that chant together 1.5 hours at least, 2 hours. Chant Harinam. Then everything will be successful. If there's no sum and substance, if there's no application of Krishna consciousness in our own daily lives, everything is there for, then whoever takes advantage of the process gives a benefit. And what am I doing if I'm not taking advantage of the process? So Gopa Kumar thought, how can I give it up? And he left. He offered Dandavat Pranams. Pranams, I don't need to be king anymore, let's go on. So next, he went to Jagannath Puri. Jagannath Puri, he worshipped Jagannath Dev. And after some time again, because he was a sincere sevak, again he became king. He thought, Baba again? Again he became the king. And he thought, I left that once already. Now again I've been given this responsibility. Wherever I go, I'm trying to chant my mantra. And he was very good at it. So it's say wherever he got responsibility, he was very expert at it. So he was taking responsibility, doing everything very nicely. But it was, sometimes other kings are attacking, sometimes this is happening, always in the battlefield. Where's my time for bhajan? So he also thought, how can I progress? Also because there's some spiritual quality within him that wasn't yet satisfied because it hadn't reached its highest perfection. Because Krishna is seeing, you are my Gopa Kumar. Actually, Gopa Kumar's name in the spiritual world is Sarup. When he goes there, he's told, you are Sarup. Sanatana Goswami describes this. So I'm going to kind of fast forward, go quickly now, and so then we can have time for discussion. But it's very interesting. If anyone, I know different devotees have published Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and it's available to read. It's a very interesting story. Also on Puru Puru's website, PVML, there's a version. Very interesting story. From Jagannath Puri, he gives up his kingdom again. And then after that, very shortly after, he starts doing a very intense practice, sadhana. Chanting his mantra, doing bhajan. After some time, it's described in sequence. He starts to hear the glories of the higher planetary systems. So in the realms of knowledge, there's 5 kinds of knowledge. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks about this. 5 kinds of knowledge. First kind of knowledge, pratyaksha, our own experience. But it can sometimes flawed. It's like analytical knowledge, scientific method. But our senses are faulty. Then there's what's called paroksha gyan. Paroksha gyan means it's a more subtle thing. It talks about knowing the difference between right and wrong and going to heaven or going to hell. Higher knowledge. Then there's even higher knowledge. Aparoksha gyan. I am not this body. Heaven and hell is also temporary. How to go higher. And this leads up to liberation. But it's also limited. And if we get caught up in that, like Sankaracharya teaches, we annihilate our own self. We are not this body. We are not this body. We are not this body. But what are we? So that's from aparoksha gyan to adokshaj gyan. Adokshaj gyan means knowledge of the spiritual kingdom of God. This is Vaikuntha tattva. And Gopa Kumar goes through all these stages. And aprakrita gyan, transcendental knowledge, is Brajendra Nandan Shamsundar Krishna and Vrindavan Dham, which is the upasya, object of worship of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Mahaprabhu says, Aradyo Bhagavan Brajesa Tanesta Dhama Vrindavana. The ultimate object of worship is Brajendra Nandan Krishna, and Vrindavan is non-different from himself. Therefore, we have established New Vrindavan, not New Vaikuntha, New Vrindavan. Because our object of worship is that son of Nanda and Jashoda, Krishna, and his eternal Vrindavan Dham. And that was the destiny of Gopa Kumar. That was what was in him waiting to come out. So therefore, he went next to Indraloka. We'll kind of speed up now. Gopa Kumar went to Indraloka. Because he heard in Indraloka, because that's the next level from earth. You can't jump to the top necessarily. You have to learn about the whole spiritual journey. In Indraloka, what happened? In Indraloka, he heard Indra every day worships Upendra, his younger brother Bhaminde. So he thought, oh, it sounds good. Let me go see the Lord. And he was there, and it was very nice. All the devatas, everyone doing puja, Upendra is very nice. He comes for sometimes, then goes. So afterwards, Gopa Kumar was sad. I don't want to be with God for a few minutes, and then the rest of the day I'm in Nandankanan enjoying. Everyone else is enjoying in Nandankanan. He was sitting there chanting his mantra. And they're thinking, oh, no problem. In the morning, we're doing our bhakti. Daytime, we're enjoying. That's not sufficient. Bhakti should be, Krishna says, ananyas, continuous. Anyavilash sunyam. Anukulyena Krishnanushilam. Continuous bhakti. He said heaven is nice. Every day they worship God. They're devatas. They know God is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna. They're not thinking, we may worship the demigods. People worship the demigods that they are like Krishna. But the demigods worship Krishna knowing who he is. Sometimes they get confused by false ego. But generally they're good. So he said, I was in heaven for a long time. In heaven, what was his affiliation? What was the organization in heaven and in Vaikuntha? In that realm, in the spiritual world, our constitutional nature is Krishna Das. That is our eternal identity. And so that's another interesting thing about Gopa Kumar. You see, wherever he went to higher and higher states. In each place, there was some facility and arrangement to worship Krishna. That's the purpose of whatever organization there is. Some facility and arrangement to cultivate Krishna consciousness and help that soul journey home to God. That's the function, that's the purpose. And so if the facility and arrangement is there, you offer pranam to it because that's very essential and needed. So Gopa Kumar lived in Indraloka and very nicely did bhajan and Nandankanan. Not distracted by anything else, worshipped Upendra and he was very nice to him. But still he was eager for something more. Eager for something more. So that Swarup, his Atma, had something that he was seeking still. Otherwise, you can imagine, you see God, you're satisfied. Life is successful. Why was he looking for something more? Because there was something in him that was not yet fulfilled in his relationship with the Lord. So that's why we say the bhakti its potential is in the Atma. And Krishna sees that. So Gopa Kumar continued. However, because he's a good sevak, very responsible, he gets position wherever he goes. What happened in Indraloka? Indra was sometimes does naughty business. Said Indra enjoyed the wife of great personality like his guru practically. And so he had to he hid for a long time. And he had to expiate his sins. And then heaven became chaotic. There was no leader in the three worlds. And so they said, oh, Gopa Kumar, let him be in charge. He's good. He was a king twice already. Hey, Gopa Kumar, come. Now you're Indra. You can imagine. Whatever I do, I know. Whatever you do, you go anywhere, you think, I'm just going to sit and do bhajan? Not possible. Krishna wants you to take responsibility. That's why yesterday I said, our spiritual journey is advanced by serving a mission. Because in serving a mission, we put Krishna in the center. And Guru in the center. And we realize I'm not in the center of everything. Service is my parama dharma, my highest responsibility. So wherever he goes, we can just say, I'll do my bhajan, I'll do my bhajan, I'll do my bhajan. But bhajan is seva. Bhaja dhatu iti sevayam. The root of the word bhakti or bhajan is bhaj. Bhaj dhatu, the verbal root bhaj means seva, service. So this is a very interesting thing. Wherever he went on his spiritual journey, he got responsibility. So therefore, our Gurudev would say, a person who has no responsibility is like a two-legged animal. So you want to be a human being, take responsibility and service. This is part of your spiritual journey. But don't do it so much that you don't practice your own spiritual life. That's why every morning, japa period, our Gurudev would say, when our Gurudev was preaching, he said, what I would usually do is I would chant 64 rounds before drinking water. This was our Gurudev's culture for 30, 40 years. He said, afterwards, my responsibility increased. So what I did is, I didn't stop chanting 1 lakh. I did 32 in the morning, before water, 16 in the afternoon, 16 at night. No matter how many responsibilities are there, I chanted Harinam. If we give that up, then the responsibility becomes like a building collapsing upon us. Harinam is the strength to hold it all together. We want to hold our bleep together. You want to hold everything together? Harinam is the way to hold everything together. You give up Harinam, the whole building collapses upon your head. That's why we said yesterday, when Mahaprabhu came, what was the weapon? Harinam is the weapon. Astra, the weapon is Harinam. That's what is the support system. So, when Indra made his mistake and hid, Gopa Kumar became Indra. And he was Indra for 1 whole year of the Devatas. He did everything very nicely. Whenever he got responsibility, what did he do? He increased the service of the Vaishnavas and the festivals worshipping Krishna. So this is the expertise in management. Increase the service of the devotees and the festivals worshipping Sri Krishna. That's why we say in our mission, our mission is serving the devotees. If we serve the devotees, Krishna takes care of everything. Krishna says, you are not my devotee if you say you're my devotee. You're my devotee if you serve my devotees. If you're the devotee of my devotee, you're my devotee. So wherever Gopa Kumar went, he served Vaishnavas and arranged festivals, serving Vaishnavas and glorifying Krishna. Anywhere he went, as a king he did it, as Indra he did it. But then he also had to progress. So that's why we say, in our spirit, in our life, this is also a lesson that Gopa Kumar is giving us. At some point, we're going to have to die. I'm going to die, everyone's going to die, we're all going to die. So when we die, what have we done in our life, it's not just the things we manage, it's how we manage our own spiritual life. That's why we say, time is very valuable, spend some time on yourself. Sincerely, genuinely chant. When I say chanting, sometimes we think of chanting as a chore, or as some work we have to do. But chanting is not that. Chanting is saying, some of my life, some of my time is meant to establish my relationship with Krishna. And so chanting is spending time with Krishna. Now Krishna, I'm not distracted with anything else. Now Krishna, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to try to be with you. And every day, part of my time is for that. At least 2 hours. That's not so much. How much? Less than 10%.
That's the real 10%. 10%.
And if that 10% is successful, the whole 100% becomes successful. 10% of your time just for establishing your journey to God. Nothing else. At that time, management, whatever. We all have our affairs to take care of. But when I die, how much closer am I to Krishna? And so Gopa Kumar went through these lives, and these stages. And he gave up position of Indra. He said, let me go higher. Let me go higher. So that's part of the idea of spiritual life. We should always seek to go higher. Until we reach that place where our Atma is set, we can understand. What does the Bhagavatam say? What is the Dharma for every human being? Who knows? For every human being. Savai pungsam paro dharma yato bhakti radoksaje. Ahaitukya pratyata yatma samprasidati. For every human being, the Dharma is one, developing relationship with Krishna, with God. And when you do that, prasidati, you'll be satisfied. So Gopa Kumar was never satisfied. That means the journey must go on. Don't stop. I like to say, sometimes you get on a train in India. I've spent many times on the train. 2-day train journey, 3-day train journey. Have you ever gone from like Vrindavan to Karnataka? By Tatkal Express. Whenever we go from Mathura to Navadvip or Mathura to Puri, what train to go on? Don't go on the Tatkal. Tatkal means like very Tatkal, very good timing.
Like this.
Good timing. And so the reality is, horrible timing. If it's supposed to be 48 hours, it's going to be 64 hours. So on that journey, what do? You get off at many stops. And sometimes, it's like, how long is the train going to be stopped? Who knows? Tatkal Express, you don't know if it's going to be 5 minutes or 5 hours. And I've been in times when it's both. It'll be 5 minutes and then it'll start going and then they'll stop again. And then it'll be 5 hours. So when you have a train stop, what happens? You get out of the carriage, you walk around in the bazaar, you get some Parle-G, you get some grapes, you go and talk and walk around, stretch. But don't go too far. Because if the train starts leaving, you have to run and jump back on. And I've seen that. One time we were traveling with 100 devotees. And whenever we travel with 100 devotees, you have to feed 100 devotees because we don't take the train food. Who knows what's like, because Vaishnavas, they're very particular about what they eat. And especially if you're smart, you're particular about what you eat on the train. So we had an Ekadashi, and we had to cook for 100 devotees, and there was one of those stops where it went an extra day. It was an extra day delayed. So we stopped at a big city, and one of the devotees, Nitin, he went to search for potatoes. Sometimes they have pre-boiled potatoes. He had to go to the market, outside the whole train station. And we had the phone ready. Like, if it starts looking like it's going to move, you better run. And I couldn't find them. I found 5 here, 10 here. They're just boiled in their skins. Finally, he was collecting from like 15 places. Say, the train's leaving. He was running, and we saw him with like 2 bags full of potatoes boiled. And the train is moving along. He was running. He said, throw the bags on one carriage. He went like 20 carriages back. But he got on the train. And then we peeled it all and had buckets, clean buckets. And we mashed it together with water and salt and pepper and had a feast. Not only did we have potato sabji, we had lassi. It was hot summer. And so we had 3 bags of ripe mangoes, and some devotees had given 2 bags of pure sandesh. So this was our feast. But the devotees were spread between 20 carriages. So it was my seva. We had to go, and each carriage is 70 people, but not 70. Supposed to be 70, but really like 150. And we had to carry like 3-4 buckets, and it's very intense seva. So we took the mangoes, we peeled them, we made mango lassi with sandesh in it, because we didn't have sugar. So you take the mango, you squeeze it, and mix the sandesh. Mataji, sounds like a good recipe, huh? Mango sandesh lassi and potato rasa.
Next time it will be sold here at the restaurant. I think it's a good...
And it took like an hour or 2 to serve out. So what's the point? In our spiritual journey, sometimes we have stops. And we want to get out and walk around and stretch a bit. But when this train starts to go again, you should try to get back on the train. Don't be satisfied getting off at a stop before your journey is complete. So that's also the story of Gopa Kumar. He made many stops. He stopped in earth, and he got 2 kingdoms. He was the king of 2 kingdoms, but he gave it up in the same life. That's why I was thinking about a little bit today. The Pandavas, they did a whole war to get their kingdom, their rightful kingdom, to establish Dharma. So many people died. And what happens next in the Bhagavatam? They walked away.
Yeah.
Why? As soon as Krishna wasn't there, they walked away. Detached. Yudhisthira didn't say anything to anyone. Draupadi, oh Draupadi, let's prepare, we're going to leave, let's close up our affairs. He said, okay, gave it to their son. Parikshit was given everything. Parikshit Maharaj, take care of the kingdom, and sayonara. Yudhisthira Maharaj he was the most intelligent. Personification of Dharma, but he came like Jad Bharat. Bhagavatam describes, he became like a madman, dressed in rags, and he walked out. He didn't look and say, oh Draupadi, now we're going, Pandavas, now we're going. He walked out in rags. And seeing that, everyone became shocked. And Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula, Sahadev, and Draupadi all walked behind. And they all went, and they all gave up their life very quickly after that, and moved on in their spiritual journey. So that's why we had a class in our ashram in upstate New York. Better to give sannyas while you're alive than to wait for your death, to be forced to take sannyas. Because if you're forced to take sannyas by death, you may remain attached, and then you'll have to be born again in samsara. That's why Vanashram system, the last stage of life, for 25 years you're supposed to be sannyasi. And before that, 25 years you're supposed to prepare to be sannyasi, vanaprast. Whether in household life or renounced life, at a certain point of life, we have to move on. And so that's why we say, take sannyas while you're still alive, because otherwise death will make you take sannyas. You can't take anything with you when you die. So you're forced, your house you work to attain, whatever you're part of, that you work so hard your whole life to maintain, when you die, you can't take it with you, and you're never going to remember it. Who remembers their past 10 lives? I don't remember my past 10 lives. What to speak of my past million lives? Until I go back home, back to Godhead, what's the point of it all? What's the point of it all? Therefore, the organization is meant to take us back home to Godhead. What's the procedure to do that? We should teach that and help everyone do that. Then it's successful. Because that's what it's there for. It's its purpose. Otherwise, we're born and we die, we're born and we die, again and again and again and again and again and again, ad infinitum. So Gopa Kumar, he knew this. Therefore, he continued on his journey. He took sannyas of every post he got. Twice as a king, once as Indra. Then he said, what's next after Svarga Loka? He went to Tapoloka. No, he went to Maharloka. Maharloka was very interesting. Everyone he said was more peaceful. Svarga Loka, everyone's trying to squeeze out enjoyment. And sometimes they worship God. But Maharloka, they're a little bit more relaxed and they do lots of yagyas. Lots of yagyas. So every day they do huge yagyas. And Gopa Kumar was impressed. He was like, nice. They would do these big elaborate pujas, yagyas, and afterwards the Lord would appear from the yagya and they would worship him. He was very happy. But yagya, Krishna consciousness is 24 hours a day. Pure Krishna consciousness. That's why some theologians, Christians, they say the most complete form of the science of religion is in Krishna consciousness because it's 24 hours a day connection to God. 24 hours a day. That's why the Brajabhas is the highest example of Krishna consciousness, because 24 hours a day they're absorbed in Krishna and want to serve Krishna. So Gopa Kumar, he stayed in Maharloka for a long time. I'll finish up. He stayed in Maharloka for a long time, but he thought, it's not complete. He went to Tapoloka. Tapoloka was very nice. But in Tapoloka, everyone was more or less detached from each other. Didn't feel like a sangha. We all were seeking some kind of community. Maharloka, Tapoloka, they would do bhajan, they would do austerities, but they would just stay to themselves. Sometimes coming together and talk about the Lord. Sometimes worship the Lord. Most of the time it was just on their own. And he wasn't so happy. Let me go further. Finally he went higher and higher. He went back to earth for a while. But there it said he would chant his mantra, he would chant his mantra, he would chant his mantra. And what would happen? A heavenly airplane would come and it would take him to the next destination. Very interesting. He would catch hold of his mantra, catch hold of Harinam. The power of Harinam is that is the airplane that will take you to the spiritual world. The airplane from the celestial kingdom came when he chanted the mantra. And he would go from one destination to the next to the next. Finally, he went to Brahma-loka. So you can imagine, as Brahma, it said that when he was in Brahma-loka, sometimes he came back to earth once. And he saw that there wasn't even one rock wasn't the same. He said there wasn't everything was different. Why? Because he was Brahma. He was living in Brahma-loka. When he came back, billions and billions and billions of years had gone. So whatever we were attached to here, in his life it was like a year or two. But he came back and it's like, but where's West Virginia? The hills are there, but John Denver's song wasn't there.
But there's no coal anymore.
Who knows? The point is, many earths had passed in that time. Why? One day of Brahma is how many? What's the calculation?
8 million.
No.
8 billion.
400 million, 8 billion, 420 million, whatever.
Night is the same.
So it's a long time, suffice it to say. When he came back to Earth, he couldn't find West Virginia, or he couldn't find California, he couldn't find London, it was all gone. Srila Prabhupada said to you what? The cities are going to be deserted and dogs. And he said in your lifetime. But whether it happens now or in a long time, it will pass to dust. Guaranteed. So Gopa Kumar was Brahma for a long time. Why? Even Brahma, that's why we see wherever we go, problems are going to follow. Whatever level of material organization, whatever level we go to, there'll be problems. So why worry about that? Do bhakti. In Brahma-loka, a demon came, and Brahma got afraid and he left. It's very interesting. It said a demon came from like the fog. This is Sanatana Goswami describes. I'm not making this up. Sanatana Goswami describes a demon came, and Brahma became afraid and fled. So everyone was like, Brahma's gone. And he didn't come back. He went on hiatus. He said like, office closed. Boss isn't home. Brahma was gone. So everyone was like, who's going to be Brahma in the meantime? There's someone who's been taking on lots of jobs and being successful. Like Pankaj, wherever you go, sometime, and then the next one, and the next one. But oh, look at the resume. Gopa Kumar's got a great resume. He was a great Indra. He was a great king twice. Let's try him out as Brahma. He became Brahma. can imagine the responsibility as Brahma. Not just managing Indraloka, not managing a little kingdom. He said when he was a king, he had to worry about what the emperor told him to do. Because he wasn't a sovereign king. There was an emperor. And so he said, I was doing bhakti, it was nice, but sometimes the emperor would give me some candy, and moved on. Indra, but even Brahma, he thought, Brahma is good, no one on top of me. Still there was problems. So as he managed for Brahma for some time, but he still wasn't satisfied. Because we should understand that position doesn't give satisfaction to the soul. Love, puja, pratishtha doesn't give satisfaction to the soul. That can also be an obstacle. Therefore, every day, chant Harinam until we go back to Godhead and serve Krishna there and realize our Swarup, completely be satisfied. Suprasidhati. Every human being's Dharma is to worship Krishna and to attain relation. When you're satisfied through that in your relationship, then you've achieved the success. So therefore it said that is attained in Goloka Vrindavan. So therefore continue. The train has many stops. On Gopa Kumar's journey there was many stops, but he kept going, and he kept going, and he kept going. I'm not going to go over the whole story, I'll finish now. But suffice it to say, from Brahma-loka, he went even higher to Vaikuntha Dham. Very nice. Vaikuntha Dham was very nice, but there was a lot of opulence. And he wanted to embrace the Lord. Hey, you can't go and embrace Narayan. Narayan, you have to offer stutis and prayers. It said in Tapoloka they tried to make him like them, like a Brahmin. He didn't like it. In Maharloka they tried to make him like him. Wherever we go, everyone wants to be in my group. Be like me. As a king, be like me. But he kept going, Maharloka, be like me. Indraloka, be like me. Brahma-loka, be like me. Vaikuntha, they said, very good, you're here. We'll give you have 4 arms. And it's very interesting. You hear the description of Vaikuntha. It's very interesting. How are the associates of Narayan? What are they doing? It's very fascinating. And he was there for a long time. It was pretty amazing. You can imagine, sometimes they can take any form they like. And they do different pastimes like that with the Lord. But yet the intimacy was lacking. The intimacy was lacking. So he wasn't yet fully satisfied, so he kept going. You can imagine, he even gave up that Vaikuntha. That's why Raghunath Das Goswami, what does he say? Api tyaktva lakshmi patiratim yomanayan. Even that can be given up for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Why? Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesatanyasta Dhama Vrindavana. When I will be in Vrindavan with Krishna, then this is our ultimate attainment. And within that, what is my special relation with Krishna? What is my ras? I need that instruction. That is why Shiksha is important. There's 5 kinds of guru, but guru is one. Because all the gurus, they are taking us to our ultimate relationship with Krishna. That's why in higher bhakti, we have bhajan guru as well. We see that in Jaiva Dharma. Who is your bhajan guru? Teaching you about your relationship with Krishna and how to achieve that. That's also important. So Gopa Kumar continued, and he continued, and he continued. Mahaprabhu said one thing that's very important. Aishvarya Shithil Prem Nahi Moda Prita. Why wasn't he satisfied in Vaikuntha? Because Aishvarya was predominant, opulence. And then sweetness was lost. When we were talking with Maharaj, Prashana Maharaj, what was he saying? The camaraderie was the most sweet when the times were tough. So that's the sweetness. He said, Aishvarya, too much opulence, then sweetness can be lost. Braj, Vrindavan has the most opulence, our Guru Maharaj would say. Vrindavan has infinitely more opulence than Vaikuntha. But yet, it's insignificant compared to the sweetness. Like a grain of salt in a bucket of nectar. Like you make, Mataji will know. When you make a nectar drink, salt brings in the flavor out. So you put a little salt. If you're making a nectar drink, like a fruit nectar, a little bit of salt, but mostly sugar. And so this salt is the opulence of Vaikuntha. Sounds like a criticism, like a critique. But Krishna himself says this as Mahaprabhu. I am not satisfied by devotion, inhibited by opulence. I want that sweet relationship of my devotees. And so Gopa Kumar continued on. He went to Ayodhya Dham, he continued on. He went to Dwarka Dham, he continued on. Finally, when he came to Vrindavan, it's a very sweet description. Everyone was absorbed in Krishna Kirtan. And he was, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? He was searching. Wherever he went, he was thinking, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? This Mahaprabhu's prayer, Kaha jao, kaha pao, Brajendra Nandan. When Mahaprabhu took initiation, this was his mantra. Meaning, this was his meditation. Every day he was just thinking, where is Krishna? Where can I find Krishna? Where can I find Krishna? When he went to Gambhira Jagannath Puri, where can I find Krishna? Mahaprabhu was preaching. But after some time he said, Nityananda, you preach. Haridas Thakur, you preach. Raghunath, you preach. Six Goswamis, you preach. And he sat in the Gambhira and he was saying, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Scratching his head on the walls, rolling, saying, this world is void without Krishna. Yugaitam nimeshana chakshusa pravita. If I cannot find Krishna, sunyaitam jagat sarvam, this world is void. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Therefore, this is what Guru has come to do with us. Guru has come to give us, inspire us in our search for Krishna. And Krishna has sent Guru to help find us. The loving search for the lost. Go, Guru, Gopa Kumar, go and find that Brahmin and bring him to me. Radharani said. Oh, Gopa Kumar, after he went to the spiritual world, met with Krishna. He said, Gopa Kumar went to, he said, where is Krishna? I said, oh, it's now daytime. Everyone was crying and doing kirtan. Why? Krishna's in the forest. In Svarga-loka, they worshipped Krishna once a day. Afterwards, they were happy, they were enjoying. Maharloka, Tapoloka, Maharloka did big yagyas and Yageshwar Hari would appear and they would worship him. Then the rest of the day they were happy, peaceful in their shanti and their activities. But in Braj, if Krishna is not in front of their eyes, they're lamenting, when will I see my Krishna? This is the glory of the Brajbasis. Krishna was in the forest and the Brajbasis were lamenting, oh Krishna, Karunasindhu, when will you come home? So they weren't so interested in Gopa Kumar. He said, go to Nanda Baba's home, he'll come back soon. And as the dusk approached, what did the gopis sing? Gopi Geet. Ganarajasvalam. Oh, they heard that. You can imagine. After his journey of billions and millions and billions of years, Gopa Kumar, he was finally about to see Brajendranan and Shamsundar Krishna. And before he sees Krishna, what does he hear? Sounds of the bugles, sounds of the flutes. Krishna is playing and dancing. And what did you see first? Not Krishna. Clouds of dust rising up from the pathways of Braj. And the gopis and all the gopas and all. When Gopa Kumar came to Nanda Baba's house, he saw everyone was very busy. Brajbasis are always busy. Even though they're doing kirtan, they're busy in seva. What are they doing? Like Mataji, preparing drinks, mango lassi, this laddu, this mala. Everyone's busy singing and doing seva. So everything Mahaprabhu taught, it's transcendental. And so that's why our process, it said our sadhana is our sadhya. Our process is our goal. That's why chanting is the most important thing and seva is the most important thing. Because Mahaprabhu said, Nirantar koro naam sevan ar koro Vaishnav. Nirantar koro, continuously do naam kirtan. Always do naam kirtan and Vaishnav seva. These two things, if you do it, very quickly you'll achieve Krishna. Why? This is what the Brajbasis are doing. Constantly serving, constantly doing kirtan. Continuous kirtan, continuous seva. This is the purpose of the mission. The Brajbasis were singing and preparing. And they were all waiting, lined on the pathway. Krishna is coming, Krishna is coming, Krishna is coming, Krishna is coming. Clouds of dust were rising. And you could hear the bellowing of the cows, waiting for the cows to come home. And in the distance you could see some of the associates, Krishna with the Sakas coming. And Gopa Kumar, as you can imagine his heart, Krishna is coming, Brajendranandan, Krishna is coming. He was stunned, motionless, he could not move forward. Krishna came. Normally he goes in Nanda Baba, Mother Yashoda. Today he came for Gopa Kumar and he embraced him. He said, oh Saru, finally you've come to me. He embraced him with so much love and he became senseless. So this is described in the end of Jaiva Dharma also. This is a very deep topic. This is something we don't jump to. How do we jump there? We jump there by chanting Harinam. From one step to the next to the next. How do we jump? We say don't jump. But how should you jump? Branga Sanghita says. Brajbasis, they don't walk anywhere. They jump and skip. Every song, every word is a dance. Every word is a song. Every step is a dance. Right? So this is how we jump. From one to the next, one step to the next. No attachment. Only attachment, our only property is the holy name and Guru Seva. And until we find that goal of our life, Sri Krishna, we should continue seeking, continue moving forward, continue moving forward. Responsibilities will come. That's important. Gopa Kumar had many responsibilities he dutifully followed. But his primary duty, I say our primary service to Guru is chanting Harinam. serving Vaishnavas, and this way we can go to Krishna. So this is just a brief few points about the story and journey of Gopa Kumar. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, we'll have, I know, an amazing, fabulous Mahaprasad. I'm very honored and humbled, and to see all the devotees dedicating their lives to service, seeing the holy Dham here, the temple here, amazing. Going to the Arti, hearing Prabhu's class in the morning, it's such an amazing class. I was saying yesterday, Bodhayanta parasparam katayantas chamang nityam tushyanti chara manti cha. This is our process of devotional service, being with devotees, speaking about Krishna. This is the success of life. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada said, two most important services to the Mayapur Dham: Nam Hatta and Brihad Mridanga. Harikatha, Nam Hatta, Prasad. Now, what is going on in Nam Hatta? Serving Prasad, singing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Bhagavad Gita. Very simple, home to home. Mahaprabhu's movement started in the home. Then they established the temple. And so both goes side by side. Mahaprabhu's associates, primarily householders. They're very important. Never undermine the importance. They are the householders of the support of the entire society. Just like we say, Vaishyas are the support of the society. Without Vaishyas, there's no society. Why? No service to do, nothing to manage, nothing to lead. No seva for the Brahmins, no seva for the Kshatriyas, no seva for the Shudras. Vaishya has to create something. And in the same way, without Grihastha, there's nothing, no foundation. So Krishna's associates, primarily Grihasthas, Mahaprabhu's associates, primarily Grihasthas. Therefore, I'm coming amongst you, I'm very humbled to see all amazing devotees taking care so nicely, bringing up the next generation so nicely. This is what's so important. This is the most important thing. I am only here like a witness coming to see the devotees in their service. So I'm so honored to be here. I hope to have a chance to see Sri Thakurji again, Sri Prabhupada again. Since I was a child, I've heard the stories of the Palace of Gold, New Vrindavan. I've always wanted to come, but I was so busy. So now I've had the fortune to come, and I'm so grateful to Mahabodhi Prabhu, to all the devotees who've arranged such amazing programs, and this is very important. We should try to not interrupt the flow of bhakti, and we should continue our journey to Krishna. Hare Krishna. 1 5-minute kirtan, and we'll take Mahaprasad. Or we can start serving out, we'll do a little kirtan. We can pray to Krishna. Oh Krishna, thank you so much for sending me, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much to Srila Prabhupada for arranging this organization so that I can have a chance that throughout the ages, throughout the generations, people will have a chance to come closer to Krishna. Gopa Kumar, wherever he went, he found temples. Because temples are such a place that communities can gather around and have a holy place and increase and progress in their journey to Krishna. When Gopa Kumar was ever on earth, he would search for a temple. Whenever he was on earth, he would search for a temple. And then he would find a community of devotees. So this is very important. Those places established by our Guru Varga, we should always honor and serve with our life, as our life. And by doing that, then we can go to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna